All right, guys. Today I'm here with Sanjay Parasher. Sanjay is the founder of the Australian Health Company and the Foot and Ankle Clinic of Australia. At just 29 years of age, he's got over 35 investment properties, totaling over $13 million in value. Sanjay, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much, Lewis. It's an absolute pleasure to be here.
Thanks, man. Thank you. So I know on paper, man, like everything about you is flawless, but I know there's always more than meets the eye. So maybe take me back to the beginning for you. Like, what was your your upbringing like as a kid?
Thank you. Upbringing wise, like it's always diverse, and even for yourself, right? Like when you take yourself back for a second, you go like, what have I done and what have I experienced? There's always, positives, negatives in everyone's upbringing. And I think sometimes the way I see it is I had an upbringing where I had immigrant parents. They came to the country working really hard. And I was given a lot of opportunities like, hey, play a sport, do this, and really push myself along. And I faced a lot of adversity as well, like in those times. And I was thinking about this the other day and I said, that was actually meant for me. Like, any bits of adversity, whether it was then as I was a child and progressed through cricket, started playing cricket at a really high level, really enjoying school, and then, got really supported through that environment. My parents even bought a new house so I could have a cricket pitch, as an example, So yeah, it was a good upbringing, supportive, a lot of challenges, but then I've transitioned that into obviously study, business, and then obviously investments, and then, continued through there, and now we're here.
Amazing, man. Tell me about some of the challenges. Like, is there any key challenge that you had growing up that, kind of shaped the person you are today?
For sure. I think getting myself out there. So if we really want to just first start at, let's just go primary school, right? And you're the kid with glasses, like massive glasses on your head, but you're an ambitious kid and you always want to get out there and do well at sport, and you want to see if someone's running fast, you're like, I want to run faster. So the challenges have come from me wanting to push myself, and that's instinctively who I was while I was a kid. That came through cricket, that came through study, that came through then university. I went to acting school, so I really challenged myself there and got out, onto the front stage, and even went and acted or featured in a feature film with Gerard Butler.
Wow.
That was pretty cool as well, but just pushing myself, right? Even went to auditions, mate, for ads.
Wow, that's crazy.
I'd go on to these ads and there'd be cricket ads. And I'll just get knocked back. And I'm like, I'm literally the perfect fit, so anyway, long story. But yeah, heaps of challenges. And I think that's what's shaped me to then, push up for bigger and better.
Yeah, it sounds like from a young age, you really had that, not only support from your parents, but you almost had that internal willingness just to put yourself in uncomfortable situations, which, we can probably all agree that you need that to get, places in life. And
yes,
talking about the cricket stuff, because, obviously the news headlines lately, failed cricketer turned, property investor. But
True.
Tell me about how much that, journey shaped who you are today. Because for me, I played golf at a high level, and I know for me, if I didn't play golf, man, I wouldn't be where I am today, because I built discipline, I built resilience, I built habits. So just how was that for you?
So it's a mindset, right? It's the mindset we start to acquire to do something consistently for a long period of time. And so how cricket helped me was I would go and watch these professional cricketers, and I'd be like, I have this weird gift where I can feeel what it'd be like in that moment in time. And I could feel how excited they would be. I could feel oh my God, that'd be cool to play at the top level. So that instilled a lot of drive, where that would be the only thing I'd always be speaking about, always be thinking about, just that one thing. I'd be locked in all day, mate. Would be at parties, family friend parties, and I'll be thinking about cricket, and I'll be practicing some shots in the corner. So it developed a lot of focus, and then the focus was obviously transitioned into discipline, and then that sort of is now really filtered through my life now with even just my own intrinsic focus and sticking to who I want to be every day.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. I think the focus is super key, and now with everything you have going, what do you do in terms of personal routines, rituals, habits? I know you like the ice baths.
Nice.
About that.
Yeah, it's developed over time, and if we just start from back in the day, it was always just going to the gym. Then it became 2 gym sessions a day. Then I was I want to get shredded.
How many are you on now?
No, it's still the 1 to 2. And then it was I want to get shredded. Let's do these crazy diets. Then you incorporate that. Then it was I want to get smarter. What are we going to do to get smarter? And it sort of progressed from there. But the routine now is, I don't know, I just try and add as much as I can. It takes 2 hours or 3 hours. And it's not because I think it's going to make me successful, but I genuinely feel good pushing myself. So I'll push myself really hard in the morning with ice baths, a lot of breath work, really challenging breath work, to be honest. Meditation in its own is a fine focus and a fine art in itself. really intense gym session. I get to watch the sunrise. I get to spend some time in nature before I even get into it. So it's an amazing routine. And, living in this location, northern New South Wales and southeast Queensland, it's amazing, man. I can't ask for any more.
Yeah, man. Like I just went to a lot of different countries, and I kind of had this infatuation with, let's move overseas, and then you go over there, and you're like, God, we have it so good here.
That's right.
Like you said, man. Like those routines and habits, like they set your day up to be good no matter what. Like you could have a bad day, because you've already done so many good things for yourself. Like you're not going to wake up the next day like, oh, I had such a shit day. You're looking forward to these things, which is super cool. But I forgot to ask, you batter or bowler?
Bowler.
How fast do you bowl?
I'd say mid 130s.
Nice, man.
Yeah, 130 maybe. Mid 130s, maybe on a good day.
Solid.
Yeah, so it was good. Had fun. I used to love swinging the ball. That was
Swing it. Like you're off cutter or?
No, so like it swings in the air, so I could go both ways.
Right.
So I could just run in and it would like dip inwards or swing inwards and then swing out as well.
It's impressive, man.
Yeah, it was pretty fun.
But like, I know when we first connected, like you told me you've had, some really high level mentors, like without disclosing too much about them, like if you could kind of distill the lessons that you've learned from those people, like how has that, helped you in your business and, investing?
Well, I think it just starts from, like, I really want to say this, like a lack of ego, right? Like I've always had, I don't let my ego ever take over, and I'm naturally so inquisitive. So I think finding the right people is naturally intrinsic in me because I'm happy to ask questions. Or if someone says, oh, this guy's really good at this, like I'm the first person to reach out, and that's sort of transitioned from when I was first starting. I picked up some amazing people along my journey, and what they've done, like, and this is the way I see it. You could either build an ego and, run for 10 years in your business and learn all the mistakes yourself and go, look, I'm really accomplished. I've worked my ass off to get here. Or you could ask the person that's done 20 years in business and fast forward and skip it. You can skip it to 6 months and all you're doing is learning how to implement all the lessons. And that's what I found is the level of growth from just me as a singular person in any of my businesses that was operating as a sole trader at the start to then going, how do we now really execute the steps instead of me sitting there learning it? And that's what these mentors have done, man, is giving me shortcuts and just, hey, this is how you're going to do it. And I'm a good student and I just listen and implement as hard as I can.
Yeah, man, you can really compress decades into days when you have the right guidance and steps. And like, because obviously for you, it's like, it's happened really quick. Like in terms of timeline, like when did you kind of start the podiatry and, businesses and then like, get them to where you are today? And
that's happened naturally as well, out of curiosity, right? And just wanting to help people. And it's been a great journey because I started at 24, 25, and now I'm 29. So it's been a solid maybe 4 years. And inside that journey, there's been so many more opportunities which we've been able to provide across multiple businesses, across the health sector or across the property sector, or even in other side businesses as well. And, that's what I'm good at doing is creating. And the way I do it is literally reaching out to people, that's the more people you can touch, I call it cross-pollination and pollinate ideas and crossover ideas. And you just take little bits of pieces that applies to your life. Why can't you do that? You know?
We're together, like alone, we're just our one brain, right? We're limited by our worldview, our experience, our information. But when you bring people together, it's like that mastermind effect, right? You get all the different bits and someone just gives you one bit of information. You're like, that was the missing key. Right? And it can be transformative, that's for sure.
Yeah, and different methodologies from different industries, you can still always apply to your industry. And that's what no one ever realizes. They just think that in the transport industry, if something's done, that only stays in the transport industry. Why can't you move that across to the retail industry? Why not, right? And just joining the dots on those key components are literally mind-blowing when you can actually do that. But only a few select people can.
I mean, for the business owners who listen to this, like what would be one, practical thing that is industry agnostic that with any business you could kind of apply that same principle or tactic and, achieve tremendous results?
Well, it depends what they're looking for, right? And a lot of the time they might be looking for volume success, right? Or reaching as many people or their own branding, right? Or sometimes it could just be revenue focused. Sometimes it could be both. Sometimes it could be impactful. So I think understanding the goal first of what you want to achieve on a timeline basis, breaking that up, and then going, okay, how are we going to execute that goal? Use a mentor, use resources around you. Saying, hey, I want to achieve this in this time frame. Number one, is it realistic? Or have I got uninformed optimism right now because I'm so excited and I want to start my own business and this is the best idea ever, right? And just make it realistic first. Go, what do I need to do? And then can I implement that? Work towards implementing it and then start to hit those goals off. And it happens really quickly.
Speaking of goals and setting timelines, you've got a fuckload of property in the last few years.
Yeah.
So tell me about that. Like obviously, it kind of started in 2020 in terms of getting your first property. Was that like in Wollongong and then kind of snowballed from there?
Yeah. Look, I've always had an interest in property. And as soon as I saved up my first little bit of a down payment as a sole trader just by myself, I was at it for a few years at that time. So I understand how it feels when you're saving up for that. I bought the first house uninformed. I just kind of had a rough idea. I'd go on YouTube and watch videos. And I love the idea of property. I love how you can make changes and use your mind to do something rather than physical hard labor, and that's what property does, because you're building an asset, you're building an environment, you're creating for other people, and that provides direct value to whoever's doing that inside the asset. And it could be like anything. We could have this studio or a car, which is an asset, and that generates money. So can a property if you do it the right way.
Definitely. And for you, it sounds like a lot of the way that you've kind of done that's through Airbnb, right?
Yes.
So from this conversation alone, I can tell you're very creative. And so like from other conversations that I've heard you talk about, seeing a place and like, cool, what can I do to make this place look better and more valuable? So like for you personally, like what's the actual like split in terms of your properties? Like, are they all Airbnbs? Like, how does that look for you?
Good question. A lot of the property depends on location as well. So a lot of the properties, if I buy a block of units, if it's in a really cracking location, close to the water or in front of the water, I know that's going to do well on Airbnb, right? That's where everyone's going to be looking. The way we advertise the property, the way we market it, the way we position the property in the market, everyone can afford it, but it's a really sort of vibey property, and that's what we go for. And mate, when you think about it here, just me sitting here, how many skills have we talked about already? Like, it's just mind blowing then to know that I had to then dive into that game, learn how to like design it properly, learn how to make it cost effective, get out there and do it dirty with, the closest people around me. Like, I'll just go there and just do it, and do things in the renos. And I'm not handy, like I can't hold a screwdriver, right? But we'll go
figure
there.
it out, right?
Yeah, like you just have to do it and learn it. And I'd put a plumbing shirt on, like I'm from Plummet right now, like let's go. So man, it's been a journey, but that's what we've done. So based on the property portfolio, to answer your question, we've got 8 Airbnbs now out of this 37 properties. And how that works is if there's an opportunity to always get another one, I'll always be quicker to move to an Airbnb compared to a standard rental. But the way I calculate it is even on the standard rental market, the property has to cash flow, because there's always safety in the asset then. So we can always just drop back down if the Airbnb game is not working well. Number one, you've got a fully furnished property, which is going to get more returns on the market. And number two, it's an amazing property where someone high end is going to actually come in there and pay that little bit more, and that works perfect for valuation.
Yeah, no, definitely. But I mean, there's probably been challenges as well with Airbnbs, right? It's obviously, you got other people come in. Like, has there been anything that's like, gone really wrong or like?
It's a good question, man. I'll tell you the one lesson I've learned in life and business in general from this is I've got a property in Batehaven down the south coast. It's away from where I was living at the time in Wollongong. So it's the first time I'd ever try and manage an Airbnb remotely. Now I do it all remotely, but this is the first instance. And I engaged a company, a third-party company, I won't name who they are, that manages Airbnbs. They find the cleaners and do everything for you, and they're like, look, pay us an additional 20% or 30%. I'm like, I'll give this a go. The income's really good at the moment. I'll see if I can make this work. Worst decision I ever made, right? And the reason being is because I don't have the skills on managing other people, especially if they're new, right? If they're internal staff, great, we're developing the skills, we're bringing in managers, but I don't have that time and those skills. So it actually kind of failed. We got minimal bookings, the whole maintenance went down the drain for the last sort of 6 months, and then now we've just jumped back into it. We put in systems, we put in smart pricing systems, we put in positioning systems, we work on the imaging ourselves, and the results 10 times better, and it's almost booked out all the time again.
Well, I know that place really well. Like, I grew up in Canberra, so not far from Batemans Bay.
Wow.
We spend every summer there, but I know like in the winters and stuff, it's not like a ton of people. So if you do something slightly wrong, like,
yes,
then it could definitely
you just fall down to the bottom. And our goal is in Airbnb game, literally sit right up the top. If you're not a super host, you still want to sit up there based on price, presentation, location.
Yeah, no, for sure. And like with the properties, like do you have like a number in mind of like, I want to have like, let's say 12 months from now, do you have like a number that you're working towards?
Yeah, I think it's more, I want to get to bigger decisions, right? So like, that's my next goal. And what I mean by that is, instead of going from an asset, which was the first one I bought was 660K, obviously that's a decision. And then the returns or what you can do with that property is a certain decision as well, based on magnitude. The next one's obviously a block of units. That was like 1.7 or 1.8 million. That felt like a really big decision. And then obviously we've scaled up purchasing bigger and bigger properties. But I think the bigger the decision, right, the more exciting the opportunity, but the more value you can create inside that asset. So that's where I want to get to, is I want to be making bigger decisions in the property game. And whether it involves other people as well, happy to do that. I'm quite an inclusive person, but I just want to be able to first understand how to get there, develop the skills and the value that I can provide at that level, and then continue to move from there.
Do you have people showing you the way in the property? Like like a mentor in property investing? Like,
Question actually. No, man, I actually don't.
so you just did that all on your own?
Yeah, like I
That's
don't actually
crazy.
follow anyone in
Because
like.
one of the things I'm like, dude, like 3 years to acquire that many properties, like it's just almost incomprehensible to me. Like,
Yeah.
it seems like one, you're not afraid of taking a risk, right? Because most people think, oh, it's risky to, do all this stuff. And, like, what would you kind of say, like, to people who think that investing in property is like a risk or?
Yeah, I think doing the calculation. So everyone makes property emotional. And the thing I learned from my very first property, there was no emotion involved. Naturally, I'm an affectionate person, but not emotional. It's very strange.
Good.
Right?
That's good traits.
Yeah, it's like, it's a big divide between the two still. And what I'm saying is doing the numbers on the property is the most important thing, and understanding the value you can create is the second most important thing. If you do the numbers and it works at its most bottom end, or you call it a BATNA, so if you lose a negotiation and that's the bottom of that negotiation, what's your worst case scenario? If the property's still going to be safe based on cash flow and the numbers work, why not, right? There's no downsides to the property and you're still safe and you're still generating an income from it. So based on those calculations, that's how the decisions are made from the worst case scenario. And then anything above that, all you're assessing is value and how to provide that value.
No, it makes sense because whether it's business, life, if you make emotional decisions, it's never going to end well. If you have that exact number, and even if it's bad, it's still not going to ruin you or like be negative, then yeah, 100%.
That's right. It just sits there and it still grows in capital growth in the interim. But yeah, always worst case scenario, do the numbers as well. And then last one, look at value.
And obviously with like, I don't buy into it a lot, but there's always the talk of like the economy crashing, recession and stuff. Like, what are you kind of doing to, stay recession proof?
Nice, man. So I think staying recession proof, and that happens obviously with inflation, changes interest rates, and then obviously how the economy is operating around that. For property, it's important to have cash flow. That's probably the most important thing. And it doesn't matter how high the interest rates go. Imagine your cash flow is so good. So then some people might say, but no one will be using Airbnbs. Just remember your base figures were always calculated at that bottom rental rate. And if a recession happens, where are people going to go? They're probably going to sell their houses and they have to rent, right? So
That's when you buy more.
yeah, like you're then providing them a place to stay, and it actually starts to solve more of a problem because I don't want to occupy them myself. And we provide people the opportunity to stay. So I think it'll be a good thing as long as the asset's right, the numbers are done correctly. If occupancy is high, then it's going to do really well.
Speaking of cash flow, I'm curious, like with the Airbnbs, what's like the craziest week of like revenue that you had from those?
Nice, man. So with Airbnb, it's an interesting one because it's scaled up over time as the properties have gotten better. Like per month on average, you'll do like say 30K a month. The largest weeks I'm thinking 15, maybe 20 grand.
Wow.
Obviously summer period on a weekly basis. And if we can get smarter, I'm learning how the booking systems work now. What I'll do is I'll reverse auction the Airbnbs first. I'd put them up for a really high price. And I was like, if someone wants to grab them early,
Wow.
have
always premium buyers, man.
yeah, come at a really high price. That's what I did last season, and it worked well, but I had a couple of days still available. This year, I've changed the approach coming into these hotter seasons, and I'm actually putting them at a sort of just a moderate price and having them all booked out, and then just seeing, obviously, looking at comparisons to see how we perform both years.
Oh, nice. And like, forgive, this is probably my ignorance, but like with the revenue that you generate from, the Airbnbs, are you reinvesting that? Like, and obviously there's got to be taxes and stuff involved with that. Cause obviously anyone looking to buy Airbnb might think, holy shit, I can make 20K a week. But what's the stuff there that like you don't see that someone could be aware of?
Yeah, beautiful. So I'll start with the actual ongoing costs, right? So with ongoing costs, how it works is you're going to have cleaning fees, you're going to have supply fees, you can have maintenance fees. No one realized maintenance things wear and tear a lot quicker in Airbnbs. And you're also going to have upkeep fees as well, whether that's high water expenses, electricity, etc. So the costs do go up. Ongoing registrations, we've got different types of insurances as well inside the Airbnb. So there's all these added costs, which do arise. But I think the offload to that is with more cash flow, you're in a better position to improve the properties. Right. And with those improvements in the properties, that's where the revalues come in. And the simple way to look at it is, say if I, invested $20,000 into a property, as an example, got a new paint done, restored the roof maybe and did the landscaping, and it really felt like a new property. That could increase the value based on the average rental in that area by maybe $20 or $30 a week. And then times 4 or 5 properties, that could increase the value by $300,000 or $400,000.
Wow.
Right. Based on how many units are in there. So a small investment can go a long way if it's done right. And that's why Airbnb is great, because you have that opportunity if you know what to do with the money.
Yeah, no, that's interesting, man. That's interesting. And I saw in one of your recent interviews as well, you spoke about how you recently drove past your, family home when you were, whether it was recently or whatever that was. And, you were kind of reflecting and you said something along the lines of, it's going to be crazy that a billionaire is coming from there, right? And you said it with so much certainty, man, because obviously people will say things like, oh yeah, I'm going to be a billionaire. But the way you said it, I truly believed it. And I was like, 2 questions of that. Like one, like why do you want to become a billionaire? And secondly, what gives you so much certainty around that?
I think I think money, and this is what I'd love to say, is just a direct value of two things: time, so time at doing something, but also level of sacrifice. And I don't think it's necessary about the $1 billion, because I think by the time me and you were like 20 or 30, there's going to be so many billionaires. We're not even thinking that far yet. Because just to be 20 or 30 years ago, to be a millionaire, that was a big deal.
Oh yeah.
But now how many millionaires is there? You just sell your property and you could literally be a millionaire.
Buy a shit coin on, coin exchange.
Right.
People become millionaires. Not anymore though, but
Yeah. So like it's proportional, right? So in 2023, it might sound great to say you're going to be a billionaire, but it might just be worth like being 100 millionaire now, right? At that time. And there was no time stipulation as well, on there as well, which is the best thing about it. But I think this, right? If I know I'm willing to put in the time and I know I'm willing to put in the sacrifice, so I know the direct value that's going to come out of that is, off the scales. Like I just know what I'm made of.
Yeah, no, it's crazy, man. It's very impressive. Like, I think so much of success, like people look for strategies and tactics, but really like it is your own mindset, right? Like your ability to think, okay, like how can I be a billionaire versus like, I don't think I could be a billionaire, right? You get creative, you come up with ideas, solutions, strategies. And, I see that a lot in you, it's impressive, man. And yeah, like obviously like with the success of the businesses and the Airbnbs, you know in your own mind that you can do it. It's just about continuing to, do
That
it
discipline.
and up the scale.
Yeah, like the pathway's there, right? And even like if you look at the best of the best, and if we really peel it back, look at the Warren Buffetts. Look at all these guys that have been successful at their age now, even at 29. If you assess where they were with what they had and what they could do, everyone's ahead of them. Like we have the Warrens to learn from. That's what no one realizes. He didn't have the Warren to learn from. He came up with that idea. So we can apply all these principles and all these factors into what we're doing now. Man, the world's our oyster, but no one sees it like that. Everyone's got a victim mindset and they're like, it's just really tough and the world's against me. It's like, mate, you got it in your hands. Go out there and get it.
Do you think being broke is a mindset?
Literally, they're used to being broke. That's how simple everyone, like that's how easy it comes down to, or it could be their environment. People get infiltrated every day. They listen to their environment rather than themselves. And I think that's where the problem starts.
It's a really good point because I think self-awareness is one of the biggest skills that any person can develop because like when you actually become self-aware, you realize all these certain things, these negative beliefs and things. And like, it's crazy because for me, I didn't grow up like being self-aware. Like it wasn't until I was like 22 where, I kind of learned about personal development. I always like wanted to be successful, but I never thought it was possible because, you just see, I did a Bachelor of Entrepreneurship in university, right? Like I finished my degree there and everything we did there was like these complex business plans, like building the next Uber. And in your mind, it just seems so like unachievable because it's like, I'm not going to create, like realistically, how am I going to create the next Uber, right? But when you actually, like the way I got into business was I started working for these guys in their small business and they saw my, potential, my like willingness to learn and go above and beyond. And they gave me the opportunity to run that business for them.
Wow.
And I learned so much from that experience that like, had I not have done all the personal development stuff beforehand and become self-aware, like I never would have had that opportunity. But at the same time, yeah, like I think the stuff I learned in uni, man, was just pointless. Like,
yes,
haven't used a single thing. It's the practical experience of, figuring out where to get customers, how to provide value, how to, call people and just communicate is like such a basic skill.
And you're saying that because you became self-aware, you were easily able to transition that into then when you were in the real world to actually execute and implement that.
Exactly, man. Exactly.
Nice. Well, I think this, based on top of that, even the more self-aware we can be, the more freedom we have. Because the more we realize we can control what's going on, right? We can actually control our life and our reality if you're more self-aware. But if you're the lower self-awareness you have, right, the more your external environment determines how you feel, how you operate, how you think, or how your day is going to go. And that's what I think the beauty about it is putting that discipline, putting that time, that sacrifice. It might not relate directly to money, and it may. But imagine if you're completely self-aware, you're comfortable in your own skin, you know who you are, you know what you're here for, right? Nothing else really matter.
Exactly. And I think, it sounded like what you said there is kind of like along the lines of like manifestation and creating your own reality. Like how much do you believe in that stuff?
Yeah, it's like I'm certain. Like, as I was saying to you before, like it just feels like I'm so certain with everything I do or everything I say. It just comes from authentically me, and sometimes when people are worried about their environment and they do hear something that's so clear or so direct, even in a nice way, it hurts. And it's that level of pain that creates that negative energy where some people, they're used to pain, they're used to being challenged, like, wow, that is something definitely different than I ever thought. And great, I'm a curious person, I'm a naturally positive person, let me apply that to myself.
And in terms of like, I guess, next projects for you, I know before you mentioned, bigger property and stuff like that, but what does like the next few years look like for you in terms of business projects?
Great, man. Look, I'm learning how to work with people. That's my biggest thing at the moment. That's what I want to focus on. People are very difficult. Look, understanding ourselves is even hard enough, as its own. But then learning to work with others is, my next big step, And I think that will transition me from being a transactional one-to-one person, and that's what I've really wanted to move away from as quick as possible, to then being able to create a difference with amongst and other people. And it's not because how I want people to perceive me, but it's more what contribution I can provide to the world around me as well. That provides me a lot of fulfillment. I'm naturally a people's person. I'm naturally love to get out there. I'm a social butterfly. So why not do something that you're strong at?
Well, exactly. And like with all the people in your companies, like did you hire them yourself, or do you have someone in HR who like handles that, or is it a bit of both now?
Nah, so it's always I started with myself, and I'll still sit in all the interviews. And that skill alone's been crazy difficult, because the things that I was looking for at the start, I don't look for it anymore, and how good someone's resume looks or how good their marks look predominantly doesn't matter anymore. We're after a certain type of human beings.
What do you look for?
Look, let's just go high level, a great human. And then if we then start to break down what a great human means, it's someone that's present, number one, someone that has their own goals. We get so many people that come in every day and I'm like, hey, like, what do you actually want to achieve? They don't know. They don't know where they want to go. They don't know what their goals are. They've got no self-awareness, right? And then imagine infiltrating that around yourself. That's what you choose to do. You will slowly become like that. So, being self-aware is a critical one. Having goals and a definitive vision is another one. And also wanting to understand, what we do, and being curious. I think being curious allows for continuous growth. So being able to see that in people and actually showing them the journey and pushing them along, that's an exciting feeling to do.
Oh, 100%, man. Like I think I never understood this early on in business, right? My first year, I was like, cool, I just want to keep my profit margins as high as possible and just me, right? But then, your work ethic will only get you so far, right? I was working 12, 15-hour days. I'm like, okay, I've hit a ceiling. And then, you hire a few people and man, like, I've made so many fuck ups in hiring. I had no idea on what I was doing initially. And then you learn and then you look for those key traits in people. And like, Sam, like my sales guy who, you initially chatted with, like I could tell from the get-go, I interviewed about 20 people for the role. He was just like, he ticked all those boxes, man. Very self-aware, told me his goals straight up, showed so much interest in me and the business. And man, I think it's very clear when someone's an A player.
I just want to commend you with what you've done, because even like understanding everyone in your business and how they work and how they operate, it's been really good. Like, and knowing how you bring people together, that's a key skill in its own. And that's what I'm learning now. You have to remember, I've come from a professional background where we don't have to do that. People are coming to us and we're helping them directly, but then to bring people together, which isn't their main interest, right? Like people's work 9 to 5 isn't their main interest a lot of the time. So to bring them together, keep them motivated and then drive them towards a goal, man, you've done really well. You've got people everywhere, which is crazy.
Yeah, it's exciting, man. And like, I think I really just love good people. Like it sounds really weird, but like, when you have people who are average, you just don't ever want to have average people again.
Yes.
Like whether it's in your friends or in your team, like I would rather have a small team of killers, like fucking Navy SEAL example, right? You'd rather have like 6 Navy SEALs than like 100, frontline soldiers.
Yes.
They're going to do a lot more damage.
Yes. Love that.
I really like that philosophy. And like, it's just about finding those people and creating opportunities for them for sure.
It's funny because I've actually like applied this to dogs, right? And if I ever wanted a dog, I'm like, I want the smartest dog that you could like teach it things and it's accurate and it won't disrupt you as well. If you're out in public, like it's smart, it's intelligent, you can train it. Compared to a dog that runs wild, like you literally will become like the dog because it's so erratic and you have to be erratic with it, So I'm like, it's literally, that analogy literally applies to ourselves or the people we surround ourselves by. That's why I'm like, if I have a pet, it needs to be smart.
I actually think the dogs are a reflection of the humans to an extent. Like you can train, dogs are very shapeable, right? Like their brains when they're young is like ours. My friend literally got a dog like 6 months ago. I was at his house last night, dude. He goes to his dog, sit, roll, drop, play dead, and it does it in an instant, doesn't even think, right? But he took it to the best trainer. This is the power of mentorship, right? This guy was like the army dog trainer. Now he lives in the Gold Coast, and he literally, my friend goes, I want my dog to be so obedient that calls it, does whatever. It's a crazy energetic puppy, but it listens to a T. So if you get a dog, probably get that guy to train it.
That's amazing. I got a couple of friends in the dog business actually, and they're genuine trainers, but they train attack dogs as well.
Right.
And imagine like having a dog that knows how to attack at the right time. Like that's a whole nother discipline in its own. But it's amazing. It's amazing what they can do, right? Like
100%.
How intelligent things could be. And then imagine you're surrounded by that. That would naturally teach you discipline. If you watch your dog wanting to get for a walk every morning, you start to become disciplined with this amazing machine, It's really cool.
Yeah, I think if nothing else, a dog will make people walk more for sure.
100%.
And if I had a dog, man, I'd be walking 3-4 times a day.
No, especially around here.
Oh, 100%, 100%. And kind of just to wind the clock back a little bit on the conversation, like obviously with all the property and stuff like that, like it might seem a little bit like out of reach for people in today's economy, right? Like, do you you think people can still, achieve success investing in property like right now in like the foreseeable future?
Well, I have a bit of a stepping stone for this, in my mind. And, this could apply for others. And that's why I said if you just learn things from other people, you can apply little nuggets, right? And the stepping stone in my mind is this. If you don't feel like you can acquire enough knowledge to provide enough value, so say you lose confidence, which is possible, but it shouldn't be possible because you can go out there and do it. But say that happens, right? And you can't generate enough income, which you can, I'm saying, by increasing your knowledge to create more value. Then the second step would be look around you, right? And start to learn off other people or people that are in the property game. Why can't you invest with someone? What's stopping you? Diving deep into ourselves and going, what's stopping you investing with someone? What are you worried about? You can always sell the asset. You can always really take someone through the journey as well, right? That is committed, that will actually put it to bed if they need to. That's such a powerful tool. And the answer to that question is yes, if you can't create enough value to increase your income, which is the first step, get the knowledge to do that. If you can't then still do that, then start to look for people that you can really create a good team with, then to actually get into the property game and start to make changes. And it could be a tradie that you jump in with that will put equity into to make improvements inside the property as well. Why not? Right? It works perfect. What a great relationship. And you find the property, you do the numbers, you're not emotional about it. You're like, I can see value in this. Go for it.
So partner up, get creative, figure out a way. If
you can't do it within your own self, if you can't find it deep within you, which you can, the answers are within you, right? Then you've still got another option there. There's always a way to do it.
This is actually an interesting question for you because this is one that I always kind of toe the line with, and it's kind of a selfish question in a way. Like obviously when you start to make more money, right? You start to, inflate your lifestyle and things to a certain extent. Like, do you think that it's beneficial for someone to take a risk to, let's say, for example, it was like, upping your rent from 800 a week to 2.5 grand a week, provided you could afford it, right? Do you think that's a smart decision, or do you think it would be wiser to do something different with that, gap in money and not inflate the lifestyle and kind of delay that versus pushing yourself to be able to, live that lifestyle and more?
And what sort of income level are we speaking about? So
let's say it's like 200 grand a year.
Yeah. Okay. So if they're going to spend more than 100 grand in rent, right? If they're spending more than 2 grand, then it's obviously a pretty easy answer. Like, why would you spend half your income to live somewhere for a short amount of time? Unless that place where you're living is going to provide you a lot of income by you doing podcasts in it, or you marketing it, or you monetizing that actual space to provide you income, then great, right? Like, I mean, even I don't even spend that much, Well, I know people that may be earning, 10 million, 20 million, $30 million a year, and they think twice of going 2.5 grand as an example. And I think it's all proportional where you're at. But if you've got additional income, if you've got more cash flow, you can use that as serviceability to purchase your next property. So it's always about understanding what environment you want to place yourself in to be successful. And that's what I do now. As long as you can get into that environment, then dig deep, right? And then you can actually make it happen.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. Like, I think that's kind of where there's always like a big gray area in terms of like advice on the internet of people saying, keep your expenses as low as possible. And some people say, you really got to push yourself to get to the next level. So it's hard. Like you said before, Warren Buffett didn't have access to all the information that we do. I almost think now we have too much information in a way, because it's like, I listen to Alex Hormozi and he says, don't read, don't meditate, get to work. I listen to a guy like you and you're like, I meditate, I ice bath. And, Simon Beard, the founder of Culture King, same thing, ice bath, meditation. So it's like, it's really almost hard in a way to like decipher what's actually right. You just have to kind of figure out what works for you.
That's so crazy that you said that. And it's so true, right? Because I would listen to people like that as well and be like, wow, like they're so, like, how do you, my question is like, how do you have a connection with yourself when you're always so externally focused, or, and it might be a good skill that they have. But I think for me, like, I work on stats and I work on very non-emotional cues in my life. And if something's worked well until now, I just continue to do that, because why change something if it's not broken?
Broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, exactly right.
No, I love it. I think it's actually funny because I think Alex Hormozi stopped me from reading, stopped me from meditating. Like, not him directly, but because I consumed so much of his content for the last year and a half since he blew up. It really infiltrates your mind. And like, it was that self-awareness recently where I'm like, wow, why did I stop doing all that? And it's like reflecting back on all of it. It's like, oh, it all makes sense now. So
nice.
Yeah, man. But I definitely agree. You got to find your unique formula that works for you. And when you feel good and the numbers make sense, then why stop it?
And like, that's the beauty about us, right? We are all so diverse in every different way, so our processes and our methods are always going to be different to everyone else. And it's important that actually happens, because you're then going to get a different result to the other people around you. You could still take Alex Hormozi's approach and you might even get the same result, but there's no difference. There's no point of difference. And for you to really stand out and be who you want, and when you're 80 or 90 and you can't do much more. And you're like, I gave it my best shot and I was definitely authentically myself, or I definitely did what I needed to do. That's a pretty fulfilling feeling.
Yeah, the grandfather frame, they call it. Like I always use that when I was, kind of just like, because I wanted to play professional golf, right? That's what kind of led me to where I am, build all the discipline and habits. But like I actually got that idea and was like, if I don't try this, I'm literally going to be 80 and just be like, what was the point of my life? Like, why didn't I try this and take it? I always had that feeling intrinsically, but it's hard to sometimes take that risk on yourself. But I think when you get to a certain point and you start to get some runs on the board, you build that confidence and you're like, yeah, it's really exciting in the future.
And Lewis, you've got nothing to lose ever, right? And the key thing is, I love this statement. It's, when have you ever regretted from trying too much?
Yeah, never.
Never. Like, if you've put in more effort for something, you've always gone, I'm glad I actually just tried, even if it failed. Like, it actually makes me feel better that I tried compared to that I didn't try and failed. Right. So understanding that whole theory and just go as hard as you can and just give it a good shot and find out if you're going to fail or succeed is so important. And I've had a few people around me where they wanted to try their own things on the side. And instead of going, hey, like, look at it from this angle and why would you go backwards? The first thing I've said to them is go as hard as you can. Like, make this try and work as fast as possible so you find out the answer as fast as possible.
Exactly. You got to pay for things with money or time at the start. And at the start, you do not have money. It's like you got to put every waking second. That's what I think people don't realize. Like, yes, they see people like who are successful not working a lot because they've built teams, they've built systems. But at the start, man, it's literally like nonstop for at least 1-2 years. You're going to be 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. nonstop grinding.
Going hard. Even now, like, I sometimes feel guilty if I'm not going hard.
Oh, 100%, man. Like when I was overseas, like I'm sitting there, I'm like, fuck, like I know I should be doing more. Even today, like I was playing golf because one of my good friends is like a content creator. He's coming up with shooting a bunch of content, which, I can obviously leverage for business and stuff. But at the same time, I'm like, fuck, man, like I should still be working more and more, which I think it can sometimes be a negative because if you don't step outside the frame every now and then, you can never see the full picture. But yeah, like I definitely agree, man. You have to really challenge yourself.
And I want to say this as well, to add to that, is it's like we should know where we are in our timeline. And we're not always going to be like this, Lewis, where we're like, I want to work. Like, there's going to be a time where we'll be like, hey, I don't want to work. I don't see the value in that for where I'm at in my life. So I say this, if you want to work right now, if that's what you want to do, why not do it at 100%? Just go with the flow with it, right? Let it take you. Let it consume you. Like, that's what you want to do. And physiologically, that's where you're at right now. So make it rain while you want to do it, because if not, when you're 60 and you don't want to be working, that's the time you'll have to continue to work because you're like, I have to keep going to survive, right? So go with the flow. Don't ignore those signs and key signals. Let it take you and enjoy it and be vibrant. It's amazing.
Yeah, man. I'm a big believer you have to solve the money problem in life first before you can do the, the passion projects and the fun stuff. You can obviously blend them together, but I think it won't work for most people, right? It's like you got to make sure money's not an issue and then do whatever you want from there.
And even like coming out here today, like even in the car, every second of the way, that's why I bought a Tesla, is so I'm doing something. Like, it's not normal. I'm like, next call, next problem. Even when we got up here, I'm still trying to sort out things just to keep everyone moving along.
It becomes hardwired, but yeah, it's definitely a good thing for sure.
Yeah, so I'm always on and I love it, like right at the moment. And so I'll keep going with it until then. I know that time will change naturally.
You know Mr. Beast?
Which Beast?
Mr. Beast. You know what I miss?
Oh,
the YouTuber?
Yeah.
So he has an interesting philosophy, like very similar. Like he goes, yeah, I used to try like work Monday to Friday, take the weekend off, hated it. Used to do 6 days, hated it. Then he goes, I just figured out that I love to work until I'm completely burned out, take half a day off, then I'm ready to go again.
Wow.
Right? So that's like what works for him. And it sounds like, for you, it's like you always want to be on, but you'll have a day, man. We're like, fuck, I am human. I need to go lay on the beach for 2 hours and do nothing. But
that happened today. I was like, I've trained for like 21, 22 days straight. And yesterday got to the point I worked till like 10 o'clock, 10:30 at night. I launched the final Airbnb.
Oh, nice.
Finally. Yeah, no, just like had to get it done today. And I was like, that's it. Tomorrow I'm not training. First time in like almost a whole month.
So you don't rest?
Yeah, like I do sometimes 2 sessions. I'm cutting at the moment, so I'm pushing myself. And yeah, man, like today was the day. That was the day.
Yeah, it's impressive.
Thank you.
How many calories are you eating?
I don't track.
You don't track?
Yeah,
you can just cut without tracking?
Yeah.
Must be nice.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Pretty cool. Crazy. But like kind of in like closing thoughts here, like long term for you, what do you want to be known for? Is it property? Like what is it?
I think on a personal level, like I'd love for people to know everyone on a personal level, and what I'm finding now is it's easy to talk about the wins, and it might be even easy to talk about the losses, but no one knows what happens in between. And understanding that we're all human, we have experiences, and getting to know that personal personalized person, that person right in there, and then applying that to everyone's individual's lives. I think there's a whole nother realm to it, which even media might not be able to convey at the moment. But I think that's where I want to take it is, yes, there might be all these things going on in the background, you know, but that's really not my main focus. My main focus is continuously developing myself as an individual, and whatever angle that takes me into, like I know I'll fulfill it at 100%, and that's what I want to be known for.
Awesome, man. I love it.
Thank
and
you.
knowing what you know now, like what would you go back and say to your 18-year-old self if you could?
Go harder.
Go harder.
Yeah, like even go harder. Like there was times like I got in my first relationship, and now just measuring how much time I wasted in that first relationship for like 2 years, and I'm
Why
like,
did you
man,
waste the time? Or how?
because you just spend time with them, right?
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, like you just like, oh, like she wants to go here, so yeah, let's go and do that. But yeah, now then obviously that relationship ends, and yes, you learn a lot about yourself in a relationship, 100%, not negating that. But I think the most important factor is like, hey, like I could have actually been doing this, and this, or learning X, Y, and Z. And now knowing what I know, I'm like, like if I could have gone back 10 years, I would have even invested more time and made it even more exciting if I could. But it's all in hindsight. I didn't even have those overlying skills to know what to do.
Yeah, correct. Like I think everything, without being too cliche, like everything that has happened to you shapes you into the exact person you are today. And had that have been a different experience, you might have had a completely different trajectory. Like you just don't know. But I think it was good to have that perspective. And yeah, man, just hungry and grateful.
It's an amazing journey, like, and enjoying the journey. And what I said to myself the other day, and this is what I'd love to share, is enjoying that moment in complete presence and individuality of itself at that very time is what's actually amazing. Not worrying about anything else, and even just sitting here and just conversing, like amazing to be that present, right? If you can enjoy every single moment for what it is, and it might be just teaching you something, right? If you're just taking in that lesson or enjoying and fulfilling that moment, that's all that should count. But a lot of people are thinking too far ahead or too far in the past, and they're never just living in that moment. And that's when they say, wow, life went so quick. Well, it gets to the point now I'm like, geez, was that this morning? Like so much has happened.
I know, man. Some days you literally like, God, you almost thought that what you did in the morning was yesterday because you've done so much. You're like, I've lived 3 days in one.
Literally. And yeah, it's literally being that present, just enjoying every single moment for what it is. I think that's the beauty.
It's a very powerful mindset, man. I love it.
Thank you.
Where can people find you?
Instagram, the Parasher. We've just started a new property Instagram as well, so it's Parasher Property. So jump on there. That has all the links to say TikTok, which we're now pushing at the moment. I think property is going to be a great angle for me because I want to be able to just educate people in that realm. I just don't feel like there's enough in there, and I think there is so much value to provide in that space. So I'm going to have a big property focus and even show younger people, you know, how it is actually possible and how it can change your life if you've got that discipline. Because a lot of time people have capital, they want to spend it. So that's where we're going to be in the property game. So find me on there, obviously on LinkedIn, Facebook, the whole lot. And who knows, we might even come up with more content very, very soon.
Yeah, man. Awesome, dude. I appreciate it so much. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you. Great for having.